Hi, Jim Willis here. Welcome back to another edition of the Camo Cook. At the end of this month, I'm going to be taking my annual salmon fishing expedition out to Lake Michigan. We charter a boat out, we go fishing for king salmon. And it's really got me in the mood to start cooking some salmon now that we're getting close to that date. So I'm going to take you through one of my favorite recipes for salmon. This is a recipe that's been popular in my household and my restaurants alike. So check it out. See what you think of this one. I call this berry balsamic salmon. So it's king salmon with a berry and balsamic glaze. For the berries, I usually use raspberries and blackberries. Sometimes I put in other ones, but I got some raspberry and blackberry preserves. Get preserves, don't get the jelly for this one. Seeds, seedless, doesn't really matter. But here we go, let's run through the recipe and we're done. Alright, so what I'm going to start out with is a medium saute pan. I'm going to put that onto low heat. Alright, and I'm going to take a couple of scoops of each kind of the preserves that you choose. Sometimes I throw a strawberry in there, blackberry, blueberry. All depends on what I got around. But it'll all be good. So like I said, this one's raspberries and blackberries. A couple of good scoops of that in the pan. So I'm going to start warming that up, getting it softened up. And then I am going to take my balsamic vinegar. Well, probably a cup and a half of the balsamic vinegar. Then I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. Now you'll be able to tell when the balsamic vinegar is starting to warm up and the mixture is starting to warm up, and you'll start smelling the vinegar, and you'll start seeing a little bit of steam riding off of it. Now I'm using a ceramic top stove and it's going to keep heat a lot longer, so I'm going to start turning that down now. It is very important that you don't bring the balsamic vinegar to a boil. Balsamic vinegar will scorch and burn really easily, and that'll carry over into your sauce. So now that this is good and warm and it's getting close to that point where it's starting to get warm and boil, I'm going to transfer that down onto low heat and put it onto the side, and I'll just let that reduce. Now the sauce as it's reducing, you're going to want to keep a close eye on. You're going to want to keep giving it a stir occasionally. You're not going to want to take your eyes off of it, because the last thing you want to do is have the balsamic burn and get that scorched flavor, because you want to keep that low, slow, and just let the water and the vinegar just steam off. So I usually sit there and babysit it. It's kind of a long process, but it'll be worth it in the end to do it correctly. Alright, so while we're waiting for the berries and balsamic to cook down, what we're going to do here is get our salmon ready. What I got is just a side of king salmon here. First of all, I'm going to go through and I'm going to run my hands over it to make sure that all the pin bones are taken out of it. You see these? Nobody wants to get that in their meal. So I'll go through it, I'll pull out what I can of those. If you just kind of feel for them just like this, normally you'll find them. Not to say all salmon have those little bones in there, but it's cool to get them out before cooking. And what I'm going to do to skin this is I'm just going to take my large carving knife here. Bring this out flat. Put it right down at the base of the tail. Oops. All right, got that off of there. Take care of this other little skin. I did a bad job, I'm sorry folks. Normally I'm better than that. And I'm going to cut that down into steaks. Okay, so now that it's been going low and slow now for a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off the heat, and I'm just going to let that sit and rest for a little while. Okay, and after the sauce has been reducing for a little while, I usually take a little bit of brown sugar, whether it be light brown sugar, dark brown sugar, just about a tablespoon into there, and that kind of helps sweeten it up against the acidity of the balsamic vinegar. Although when the balsamic vinegar reduces, it'll sweeten up on its own. It's got the sweetness of the berries. This is going to be a little sweetness to go along with the tartness of the berries and the balsamic. What you can also substitute for brown sugar, though, is you can use honey. Honey is a great substitute. So now that I've got the brown sugar in there, I'm just going to give that a little stir, and I'm going to keep on reducing it. What I want to do is I want to reduce this by about half. That way it'll start turning into a more glazed, more of a syrup type consistency to it. So I'm going to let this reduce a little bit more, probably another 10 minutes. It should probably reduce for about 25 minutes or so. Just make sure it's slow, you don't boil it off or anything. Always make sure you don't want to burn this one. Okay, and as I got my sauce just sitting off to the side like this, I can put my saute pan on the hot pan, and I'm going to get to doing up my salmon. So I got my saute pan getting hot right there. A little extra virgin olive oil into the pan. I'm going to put that back over the heat. Now I'm going to want to make sure that that pan is nice and hot. Make sure that oil rolls around in there. You don't want to put the salmon into a cold pan. If you put fish into a cold saute pan, it's going to stick. You want to put it in a nice hot saute pan. So I always keep a mixture of salt and pepper on hand at all times. Turn up that heat a bit. Alright, salt and pepper, don't need anything else really. This sauce has a lot of flavor into it already, so I'm going to put that into a hot pan. It's that sizzling sound that you want to hear. Salt and pepper. Now always remember when you're pan frying salmon that the presentation side is the side that you want to put down first. So the piece that I want on the bottom is going to have that gray stripe on there. That gray stripe is the skin side. What you want is the other side for your presentation side when you put it on the plate. So that's the side that I will always put down in the pan first. And the salt and pepper to go up on top. I give it just a little drizzle of olive oil. Alright, we should start getting some really good color on that. Okay, got some nice good coloration coming onto that side. Give them a flip. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a cover on it, take it off the heat, and I'm just going to set it off to the side and let it cook. Now the reason I turned my salmon and just put a lid on it, put it off to the side off the heat, is I don't want to overcook it. A lot of problems people have with salmon is they overcook it. It dries it out, it forces all the fat out, it forces all the flavor. I like to cook my salmon medium to mid-well, not well done. To go a little more, well, I do my sashimi recipes where I eat it raw, but this one, a recipe like this, medium, mid-well, if you overcook it, like I said, you tend to ruin the texture of the meat a little bit more. So what I did, just turn it off, cover it up, set it off to the side, and just let it sit there until you're ready to plate it. It'll come up to temperature, and it's not going to be all dried out on you. And now that's all that's left is plating. So what I got here today to go along with my salmon is I got some wild rice. And then I managed to find some Brussels sprouts. So I got some roasted Brussels sprouts there. Take my salmon, plate it right over the top. And then I got my balsamic glaze. And there you have it, berry balsamic salmon. Hope y'all like it, hope y'all give it a try. I know I'm definitely looking forward to my salmon fishing trip later on this month, where I'll have a whole bunch of the salmon to play with. So watch for more recipes that I'll have coming out between now and then, and especially for the recipes I'll be playing out with afterward. But I'm gonna dig into this. Happy cooking, happy hunting. See y'all in the next time.